YouTube, welcome back to Total War Attila. This is the heir of Carthage, of course. And I was wondering if you're having trouble with pesky Phragmata cavalry. I may have a solution for you. One potential solution. These guys here are Burgundian barbed skirmishers. They come with 13 105 damage javelins that have the interesting characteristic of having explosive damage associated with them, which has an area of effect. Only 5 of it is armor piercing, but at a base damage of 100, it's pretty impactful. And they also have precision shot, 90 range, 108 reload, which is pretty nuts. So let's just watch these guys in action real quick against some Phragmata cavalry. I'm going to use their precision shot, which drives their missile damage all the way up to a staggering 155 with explosive area of effect and immediately Tagmata Cav dropping. Now, of course, the AI is stupid and went straight into a diamond, which makes them even more vulnerable to missiles, but still, look at the effect on even some of the better cavalry in the game. Just instant destruction of Phragmata cavalry, even without me really adjusting my arcs of fire. So, I mean, you're talking about starting right in front of several Tagmata Cav units and just absolutely wrecking them. They also have rapid advance, so see, like right here where I want to skirmish away, I can do so. So look at that. Tagmata Cav, dead. Dead. Look, 4 Tagmata Cavalry, no problem. Now, you might be saying these skirmishers are ridiculous. They're pretty ridiculously awesome. There is a drawback, though. They come at a hefty 775 talent cost, but they do represent basically the best of what the Burgundians have to offer in terms of unique infantry. The Burgundians have a very narrow roster when it comes to infantry. But I mean, as you can see, these area of effect, there actually isn't like an explosive animation, but the area of effect is definitely apparent because of how quickly units die. So basically, if it has an area of effect, when a javelin hits one man, the ones nearby also take damage. That is an impressive unit, and all of them have javelins left after that type of ownage. So tell me that that's not interesting. Are they worth 725 talents in multiplayer? I have no idea. I would certainly want these guys in campaign, I can tell you that much. So before we get more into the units, let's go over and take a look at the campaign map, because that's where I usually like to start these things, but had to show you those guys right off the bat. Here's the Burgundians. They start off in a city in the north that I can't possibly pronounce. Ask, something, whatever. I'll let you all pronounce it in the comments section. Their initial challenge is only normal, so potentially a good faction to try out if you're rather new to the game. Like all the other barbarian kingdoms, they have the building conversion rate boost, which helps them convert buildings faster. And then they have bread for the hunt, which gives them icy determination plus 10% unit replenishment. That's very nice. And then harsh sustenance, which gives them an extra 15 food for every region with poor fertility, which is also kind of interesting, which means these guys might have the ability to hang around in the north as the climate change causes fertility to drop over the course of the campaign. So very interesting campaign start position. You're going to be close to the Viking forefather factions, but you should be able to maybe carve out your own niche, or you could head south and potentially go after Roman factions as well. So loving the barbed spear on the leader here. Very, very sweet looking deal. But let's go into the custom battle. Now this is where I was a little disappointed in the Burgundians. They did not have nearly as many new infantry choices as the Allemans, but they have a few other choices that come into play, and I will show those to you. So as of now, I like the Allemans better, but the Burgundians definitely have some interesting stuff to offer, and we'll see how time plays in with those barbed skirmishers. So Germanic Noble for the general, the same as the Allemans. The same spear units, obviously, with the lack of the scavenger spears, which were unique to the Allemans. So they have Germanic Levy, Germanic Spearmen, and Spear Masters. These are useful spearmen. They're not great, but all of them have the wall ability, which really helps out in expert charge defense. So potentially useful units. Pike Infantry, the basic Germanic pikes. This is where you're going to hurt. In melee infantry, the only thing they have access to is noble Germanic swordsmen. These guys are not stellar. Their armor's okay-ish. Their health is decent. Their melee attack is good, but not much else about them is really great, other than a fairly sturdy morale and the fact that they have shield wall. They do not have precursors. However, these guys are cheap enough, have decent enough health, that you could actually give them some upgrades if you wanted to make them a little stronger, offensively speaking, but they will get the job done. Not a great unit, but again, it's going to be your lack of diversity in melee infantry that's going to hurt. However, they do have a two-handed Burgundian axeman unit, which is going to be probably similar to a Nordic axe, would be my guess. Let's go see. I can't remember which factions have the Nordic axe. Viking Raiders, Norse Berserkers. Oh, man. Look at this. Maybe it's the Saxons. Let's check it out. Yeah, so they got these Nordic axe warriors for 625. So if we do a comparison between the two, it looks like these guys have a precursor, which is going to be a very nice feature. Their melee attack appears to be a little lower than the Burgundian axes, so let's pull these guys up again. These guys do not have precursors, and that can be a big deal, because the precursors can do a lot of damage. But otherwise, their stats are going to look similar to these Nordic axe, obviously with a few difference. And let's see, melee defense, armor, all that stuff's bad as we would expect. Health is completely comparable, health is, yeah, the same pretty much. Speed 38. So very similar to the Nordic axemen, or Nordics, I'm going to say these guys, Nordic axe warriors, but cheaper. So that's also going to be a benefit for the Burgundians. Now, the thing is you're going to have to be careful with these guys because they are very vulnerable to skirmishers and very vulnerable to cavalry. They are glass cannons meant to kill infantry, so you have to use them as such. Now, the good side of all this is that as a Germanic type faction here, they've got access to all these Germanic archers. The Germanic archers are probably the best pick for the price, and Germanic crossbows, and then they have access to these elite scattershot slingers. So we have another very unique slinger unit that's been thrown in here. Now, how do these guys stack up against the Armenian slingers? Well, right off the bat, they're a whole lot more expensive. But if you take a look, their missile damage is only 20, but it has an area of effect damage as well, which there's just base damage. It does have access to precision shot, so we'll give these guys a test here in a second. And at 17 ammunition, that's quite a lot. Let's take a look at their reload. I don't know that these guys are really going to be worth it. They do have good melee damage. Their attack is very low. Their defense is low. Their armor is very nice. And most of that probably comes from a shield, I'm guessing. And their health is also very nice. Very nice morale. And let's see if we take a look. Missile block chance is very good. Their rate of fire is very high. So that's going to be their ability basically to fire like crazy. So it looks like skirmishers are kind of the theme for the Burgundians, because they also have access to these barb skirmishers. These are a standard version of the barbed javelin men that I show you. The barb skirmishers don't come with any decent melee attack whatsoever, and their health and everything's a little lower, but they come with 9 of the same crazy 105 explosive damage area of effect javelins. That is insane. Now, the barb skirmishers, of course, cost a lot more, but you get 4 more javelins, and they are a little sturdier in melee with better health, and pretty solid morale, actually, as well. Both of these units have campaign stealth, which means the enemy army shouldn't know that you're deploying them, and they can fire. Both of them have snipe, ignore terrain, and the more expensive barbed javelin men have rapid advance and precision shot, while the cheaper ones just have precision shot. So a lot of potential skirmish capability. These guys are cavalry destroyers, like absolutely wrecking cavalry. They can probably wreck infantry if they get a decent shot. Now, so infantry with a high missile block chance and a lot of armor, they won't do as good because these guys have low armor piercing damage, probably to keep them from basically being like javelin hand grenades, because if they had given them a lot of armor piercing, it would be bad. But when you turn on this precision shot, they get all that extra damage, and it's gonna really make itself known. It goes clear up to 155 damage with precision shot on. That is insane. Now, from a cavalry standpoint, you don't really get anything new here. It's all Germanic cav except for one unit, which is Burgundian mounted axemen. These guys look like they're supposed to be infantry killers. The biggest problem I find with these guys is that they have no charge bonus for some reason. They have great attack. I don't know if they're still going to be able to cause impact damage, though, because they don't have that charge bonus. They have decentish health, armor, melee defense, all that kind of stuff, but with no charge bonus, basically, for a cav unit, I don't understand the purpose of that, and I don't know how that's going to play out for this unit. Again, don't know if they have any hidden attack versus infantry either, because I haven't looked in the the archives. I don't even know how to do that. So I'm sure people will make that known. I don't know what to think of this unit yet. I don't see it being worthwhile as of now, but I haven't really gotten to test it, and so I'm not sure. It is there. I'm assuming if these guys... I mean, they just don't cause a lot of melee damage either. It should be armor piercing, which is good. But I don't know. It's a curious question with these guys. The good news is you have access to Germanic Horsemen and Germanic Lancers, but you also get some of these cool unique units here, which are Barbed Lancers and Royal Lancers. Now, Barbed Lancers, if we compare them to a unit of similar cost and utility, which would be a Grivpenvar Cataphract, the Grivpenvar Cataphract comes with 232 health, 225 charge bonus, and that's really what defines a shot cavalry, is the health and the charge bonus. Everything else is honestly not too big. Obviously, if you can get them really fast and being heavy. So this is a heavy shot cav with 225 bonus at 600 talents. And let's take a look at the Barbed Lancer. The Barbed Lancer is only a medium shot cav with only slightly better speed, far less health, and less charge bonus. They do get more melee attack, but really the attack of Lancers is barely affected by their base melee attack because it really has all to do. So I don't see this unit being... I'm not saying they're not any good, but if you compare them to a similar unit, you get a whole lot more bang for your buck out of a Grivpenvar Cataphract. However, you have access to it if needed. It's going to be better than a Germanic Lancer, except for health, but the charge bonus is considerably better. But they're both medium, and so that's a decision you have to make. I question whether that would be worth it in multiplayer. Again, in campaign, there's no issue with using units like these because cost effectiveness is much less important in the campaign. They have access to these Royal Lancers. Now, this is an interesting unit. 265 charge bonus on top of 35 melee attack. This unit has a brutal charge, like absolutely brutal. Very nice morale and pretty nice armor. 230 health isn't bad. Now let's compare them. Cost-wise, they are running in the 825 range. So let's compare them to their Sassanid counterpart, because Assassinids also have nice cataphracts. So they would be compared to these Pushtighaben cataphracts. And the health on the... I'm going to call them the push cataphracts. The health on the push cataphracts is very nice. It's better by a long shot than the Royal Lancers, and then the armor on the Royal Lancers is 60. Let's check that out here. So we got 60 armor here, but the charge bonus is considerably better on the Royal Lancers. The Royal Lancers are listed as heavy, which is great, but the push cataphracts are listed as very heavy. So that's, I mean, an interesting trade-off in price, and they're actually 25 talents cheaper. So the Burgundians do have access to some nice Lancers. At 825, this is still going to be a pretty deadly unit, but that's quite a bit of spend. You do have the Germanic Horsemen to be able to potentially protect them, though, and you could also just use cheaper shot calves, so still a potential win for the Burgundians. They also have access to these relatively cheap, and it looks like could be potentially decent, and again, I find these guys most useful in campaign where the AI doesn't protect its skirmishers well and brings a lot of them. Cheap unit for getting rid of skirmishers. But that's pretty much the Burgundians. Again, their barbed javelin men are going to be a very unique unit. These slingers are going to be a unique unit. Let's test them quickly and just get an idea. And I'll bring 6 of them, and we'll just test them against some. Let's get the Western Romans here, or no, let's get the Visigoths. I think they should have what I want. We don't want them to have a cab general and come charge me. So what we'll do is test them against unit of some varying degrees. We'll put some Gothic Falxmen, which have no shields, Gothic Warbands, which don't have very good shields, and Gothic Palatina Defectors, which have nice armor and block chances. So this ought to give us a nice little look real quick at what these skirmishers are capable of against different types of enemies. And I'm very curious to see how this works. I have not tested it, but at a price of 750 talents, these guys are probably not going to find their way to usefulness in multiplayer. Since so many units do have a good missile block chance, but I mean, it's hard to say. Let's just get out here and see how damaging they are. Again, very nice health and armor on these units, and very solid morale, and quite a lot of ammo. They have rapid reload and precision shot, which should boost their missile damage up to 30, and we're going to see just what type of effect that area of effect damage has on enemy units. And we'll just try and get a feel for how quick we can eat up some enemy units. Again, testing against the AI is not decisive. This is just a chance for me to get to show you the units. I should have checked their range, you know. Let's do that real quick. I can't remember if it was 150 or 175 like the Armenian slingers. Rate of fire. Only 125, so wow, it comes at reduced range. But, I mean, they're not going to die to enemy missile fire. It's just too bad you can't fire from further range to get more shots against enemy infantry. But these guys do have a very high rate of fire. Let's see what's approaching me. We have the Gothic Warband, Palatina defectors, Gothic Warband and Palatina defectors, and the Falksmen are coming up behind. I'm just going to let these guys fire on fire at will. We're going to go precision shot, rapid reload, and just hammer the enemy units. Let's see what this fire looks like. Lots of Gothic Warband dying very quickly, as expected. No deaths. Well, the Palatina defector's now getting eaten alive, and these guys have some decent armor and shield. Holy crap! Look at how much fire is being poured in here. And the enemy just went into loose formation. That is a lot of fire. Now, obviously, the enemy's not close. Wow. That explosive damage must be causing some of this. The Falksmen, of course, just getting mowed to the ground. I don't know what to think of this. I'd be curious to see what Maximus and Blademaster can turn up on some testing against humans. But that is actually some pretty impressive kill power. I've never seen slingers do something like that to a unit that actually has shields. Now, I did use those abilities, and my units are going to be quite tired now, so that's obviously a risk. Let's get these guys off the field. But I'm assuming that getting shot in the flanks, these guys are really going to eat it now. But look at that missile block chance, even when getting Javelin, not really taking a lot of damage. That is just, I mean, the kill power of these guys is ferocious. I mean, wow. I mean, again, the AI did not do a good job of approaching me very quickly. But I mean, and then they still have ammo left after having wrecked all these infantry. I'm impressed at what they did to those Palatina defectors. Because those guys have good shields. Now this Palatina defector is lasting a little longer. It didn't get fired on initially, but you can just look how quickly these guys die. And that's only 2 units. It is firing into the rear of them. Wow. Man, I don't even know what to think of this. I really don't. This unit has some impressive stats. Now you can see how tired my guys got from using that rapid reload, but they are recovering as they fire, as they stand and fire. So these guys are already back to fresh. Their movement, though, it looks pretty low at 31, so they're not a fast unit, probably because of their armor and everything. This Germanic noble is going to have decent block chances and armor and everything too, and it's, of course, getting shot in the shielded flank. Or no, the unshielded flank. Very decent health on this unit, though, and it is going down rapidly. So is this unit going to be worth it? I don't know. I really don't. I can imagine it's going to be very deadly to cavalry. And it's certainly going to be deadly to any infantry unit that isn't in a shield wall, is what it looks like. Because they have enough ammo to get the job done. I've just killed all of the enemy infantry units with these slingers decisively. So again, tested against the AI. Not going to tell the story of what happens in a battle against a human, but clearly these guys are going to be useful in campaign. That was incredible. That was an unexpected result. Well, let's go use these guys in a quick battle. Wow. So maybe my initial assessment of the Burgundians getting cheated is off. I don't know, but I mean, definitely some very interesting skirmish units here. Very interesting skirmish units. Hopefully we can get a quick match here. There we go. So let's just see how these guys pan out in a battle. Obviously, again, it's going to really depend on my opponent. That is the Plains, which is an open field battle, and we are going to bring in the Burgundians. I'm going to get some Germanic horsemen, of course. I guess he's ready to go already. He's going to be the West Romans. I feel pretty confident against... I'm not going to bring... I don't think I want to bring the barb skirmishers because I feel confident that my Germanic horsemen can easily overpower the West Roman cavalry. So I'm just going to stick with upgraded Germanic horsemen. I'm going to give them 3 bronze chevrons here, and that ought to put them in very nice shape. From an infantry standpoint, again, we don't have many options, but these noble Germanic swordsmen can at least hold the base. And then, actually, I do want to bring some of those slingers. Let's make this interesting. Scattershot slingers. And maybe we should bring some of the barb javelin men just because it's one of their special units. Should I bring the expensive ones just to try and give them the best test? Oh, I can almost afford another pikeman. That's close. Let's cut a couple of upgrades on the Germanic cav. And then we should be able to bring another unit of pikemen just to help. Okay. There we go. And apparently he's ready to go. Let's see how this turns out. I'm guessing that those scattershot slingers are most powerful in large groups like I had them, but of course that's going to be horrendous amounts of spin. So we'll see how they do in smaller groups. And of course my barb javelin men are very expensive, very questionable choice, but I just want to give them a shot here. Feel very confident in my cavalry, obviously, already said that, and then my noble swords ought to be able to really help hold down the center. Real question though is, I think in the center I'll just try and hold it with pikes and my general, so I'll present a... Actually, let's take our pikes out with our cav. So what we'll do is we'll take the barb javelin men and the pikes out to support my cavalry. And that ought to further weaken enemy cavs' chances of succeeding. So I'll leave 2 Germanic horsemen on each flank, 2 in the center. And these guys are going to be pretty resistant to missile fire, so I'm going to spread them out here in the front. And any cavalry that charges in could potentially get hit by my barb javelin men here as well. So let's give this a shot. We'll say good luck, have fun. Wow, this guy is like all about the hurry here. Let's see what he's got. So his Sagittari are most certainly dead versus my slingers. No question about that. Scout Equites are dead, deader than dead versus my Germanic cav. The challenge is going to be all these elite Palatina, but as soon as I gain a cavalry advantage, I think we can handle that. But let's see if I can actually go make what I said happen. Yeah, these Scout Equites, absolutely no threat. Are all of them Scout Equites? Indeed they are. So I'll shift my cav to match his movement. My opponent has gone infantry heavy, which in Attila is very questionable. He is protecting his infantry with Comitatensis spears, so not a bad choice there. I went infantry heavy in my last few battles that I showed you all, so if I do it, you know it's questionable. Oh, well, this ought to be fun. His Sagittari are going to outrange me, but they're going to cause very little damage to my slingers just because of the block chance. They could potentially damage my pikemen here, which I don't really want. My opponent's realizing that probably doesn't want to face my Germanic horses with the Scout Equites. I could go engage him, but I don't want to do that and get close to his infantry. And I'm just going to leave a couple of Germanic cav here in case he does exactly what he's doing, which is moving his Scout Equites back. So we can just shift all my cav again. No big problem. Let's get into firing range of his Sagittari. And we're going to have to watch out for my slingers because they are right now going to be a little bit ahead of my infantry, so I'll move up and protect. I'm going to go into rapid reload. I am going to save precision shot. His Sagittari ought to start taking damage very rapidly, and they are. So my scattershot slinger's doing a great job. I'm going to pull my noble Germanic swordsman up because he's moving his infantry slowly forward. Got my pikes holding the flanks. His Sagittari, one of them's almost already gone. So I'm going to refocus on his other. So his Sagittari are going to be off the field. I'm just going to let my noble Germanics hold the center with the shield wall. Both Sagittari are gone. I'm going to focus fire on his general and crank up the precision shot. See if we can do any damage head-on to his Palatina guard. Not just yet, but he is taking a large amount of fire. Palatina guard have good shields, and I am firing head-on, but one of them just died. So all my shield wall Germanic noble swords ought to hold quite well, and now we just need to wrap up. My opponent's probably expecting me to try and wrap him up. Let's get these guys through here. I'm going to take these guys off fire at will. I've been wasting their ammunition. Yeah, wasting ammunition on those guys was not smart. So killing a fair number of Palatina in a head-on firing engagement with the scattershot slingers, though I don't know that they've proved any particular value yet. Getting engaged with scout equites over here, that's fine. I'll win even with the spears, and we'll run around. Let's bring our guys out there to support with that. Got a rear charge with my Germanic horsemen. I'm going to see if I can pull through my own infantry there. Lead his own cavalry into my guys here. I'm going to hit his scout equites with some barb skirmishers. The enemy general did not get killed by my slingers, but was half killed with the ammo that they had left. So it looks like the slingers, their main drawback is going to be the fact that let's take these barb skirmishers and fire into the flank the enemy infantry, and let's pull back here, put our general forward. So yeah, this fight not going well for the Romans, and I'm gonna get a rear charge here, and I'm gonna put some of these barbed javelins into the back of this infantry mass and see what that does. So here you go, barbed javelins into the rear of these elite Palatina, and the elite Palatina are having a hard time cutting through. Yeah, that elite Palatina just got wrecked by my barbed skirmishers. Now it's not probably going to always be easy to get them behind enemy lines. And now we'll just charge this Comitatense spears from all directions. Germanic cavalry is quite forgiving. So yeah, my barbed skirmishers racking up 184 kills there, 113 kills here. My slingers probably didn't do as good. Still not bad. Did they justify their cost? Probably not, because they killed Sagittari, but interesting battle nonetheless. So I do think from what I'm seeing in battle there, the elite slingers will only be good if you're going to use them to kill enemy cavalry that's high value, or if you're going to use them to potentially kill high value enemy infantry like Thracian warriors, two-handed axes. Then they could pay for themselves. Firing head-on into cheap infantry like Palatina guards, obviously not going to be effective. So that would kind of explain that. But the noble Germanics held very well in the shield wall, very tanky against these elite Palatina. And of course, Germanic cavalry is always beastly. So very nice indeed. Hope you all enjoyed this one. Definitely don't recommend the infantry heavy build like my opponent used here. I wonder what his... I didn't get to see what he said afterwards. Maybe just GG. He was a pretty nice guy the whole time. But yeah, so Burgundians, not really sure what to think of these guys. Several niche skirmishers that could be interesting. A couple of Lancer units that are potentially interesting, though this one, I don't think either of them super cost effective. And then an Axe Cav I don't really understand yet, and I'm not sure how to be used. But these scattershot slingers and the barb skirmishers, even if they don't end up being worthwhile in multiplayer, an interesting unit that could make the Burgundians very fun in campaign, because those guys have some devastating potential. So that's the Burgundians. Hope you all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.